Now, once we've calculated our table of values, then we want to be able to plot a graph. Now, what this table is showing us is coordinates. So we've got an x value and a y value. So for each of these pairs, we could write an ordered pair. So we could write -2 as our x value and -1 as our y value. But we don't have to do it, and it's not uncommon that you'll have the data in the form of a table rather than in a set of ordered pairs. Okay, so plotting is probably one of the most basic skills that you'll use in this. You've probably done it before, and it is not the most useful thing to do, but you still need to be able to do it. Later on, when we're looking at some different kinds of equations, you'll see that plotting is quite important. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to draw up my axes. Now, I've only got a domain of a domain of -2 through to +2, so I'm only going to worry about that. So this is on my x-axis, which I'm going to label, and my y-axis I'm going to label as well. Now you can see that my y values actually change quite a lot more than my the values across the domain. So I'm actually going to run out of room when I'm drawing this graph, but that's okay. I only need to go down to -2 on my y-axis. In fact, I don't even need to go that far. I'm going to go up to 4 on my up to 4 on the positive side of the y-axis, but I'm still going to run out of room. So when I'm plotting, all I need to do is find the x value and then find where that is on the y-axis. So -2, my y value is -1. I'm going to draw my first point here. When you're drawing points, you actually want to draw them fairly neatly. A dot is sometimes okay, but dots often we can actually sort of lose track of. Sometimes little crosses and things might be a little bit clearer. I'm making them a bit messy and big so that you can see them more easily. My next one is at -1 on the x-axis, and it's at 1 on the y-axis. Now I am going to do a cross for this one. One benefit of doing a cross is you can actually show very carefully, if you're careful with the pen of course, where the point is, as it's the intersection of the two lines. Next one I'm going to go is to 0, and it's at 3 on the y-axis. Now I've just run out of room, which is a little bit annoying, but you can see that I've got 3 points that are in a perfectly straight line, and if I had more room, and I should have done a slightly different scale, I could keep going up. So the point at 1, 5 would be up sort of towards the top of the screen. I could actually go further to the left, so -3. Now one thing you might have noticed, in the same way as we had a pattern for the table of values where they increased by a certain amount, well, the linear graph is going to increase by a certain amount as well. So you can see that we've gone across 1 and up 2 in each case, and we could continue that in the opposite direction if we wanted to. Now we haven't got that on our table of values, but all I'm doing is just extending the line. Now when you are plotting, you would usually you would just draw the points like that, and you've plotted your values. Okay, transposing and substituting quickly. These are just a couple of skills that you need, and they are things from our linear equations topic. So transposing or rearranging is something we do to make part of the equation, or a different part of the equation, the subject of the equation. Now you might have noticed that a lot of the equations we were looking at were in the form y equals something times x plus something. Now that's something we'll come back to later when we're talking about forms of equations, but that's pretty common, and so often we want to make other forms of the equation into that form. So I'll show you an example of that here. So I've got 2x plus 3y equals 12. Now if I want to get the 2x off this side of the equation, you might remember from the previous topic that I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. This is going to cancel, and I've got 3y equals, now I'm going to put the 2x first. It's just common that when we're talking about equations we tend to put the x's before the numbers, so I'm going to stick with that convention. And then the last thing I need to do is to get the y by itself, I need to divide everything by 3. So my 3's are going to cancel over here. And so I'm going to end up with y equals minus 2/3 x plus 4. If you ever end up with a fractional answer like this one here, I actually recommend that you split the fraction off in front of the x, so that it's clear that the 2 is over the 3 and that's kind of separate from the x. Later on you'll see again that this just helps to make things a little bit clearer. Mathematically they're the same thing, but this will actually help later if you express it this way. Now another thing, a key skill that we are often going to want to do is to substitute for values in equations. Now if you were doing your table of values, you're doing that already when you're letting x be 1 or 2 or whatever to find the y values. But a common thing we're going to do is replace x or y with 0 and then find the other value. So for example, I'm going to replace x with 0 in this equation above, so 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 12. Now this term disappears because 2 zeros are 0. So all I'm left with in this case is 3y equals 12. Now I divide both sides by 3, cancel the 3's on the left hand side, and I'm left with y equals 4. This is something you'll do quite a lot. Okay, now you should be right to attempt the Are You Ready questions, work through all of those, and then move on to the next video.